The Bills signing Frank Gore to a 1-year, $2 million deal. It made our list of very good only because it's probably just $2 million for a running back. So we just said, okay, that's it, right?
Also, Frank Gore
somehow
well is still playing really well.
Like, we're not going to spend too much more time on Frank Gore, though, right?
No, I'm just saying that he's not just being productive. You know, usually when running backs are hitting that age and they have these big seasons, it's like, yeah, but he wasn't actually that good. He just, was the benefit of some good blocking.
Volume guy.
Right. Frank Gore is still grading really well. He was 81 last year. In fact, I think that's the highest grade of his career last year, albeit on way fewer snaps than he's had in the past. He's still playing really well.
Yeah.
The end.
But that's it.
Yeah.
He's old Frank Gore. Earl Thomas signing to the Ravens, 4 years, $55 million, $32 million guaranteed. Is that correct?
Yeah. I like this. I like it a lot. So, we've had this thing before where it's like Earl Thomas changes what you can do from a schematic point of view on defense. He isn't just the best free safety in the NFL, but he plays it differently to everybody else.
I don't know if you're interpreting that chart the right way.
I am.
It's just targets.
Yeah. And they don't target.
They just don't throw to the deep middle.
Bigger chunk when he's on the field.
They just don't target the deep middle when they play single high. Nobody throws post routes at Earl Thomas.
They're still playing single high when Earl Thomas is not on the field.
Well, yeah, they're just not afraid of the free safety.
Right. But it's not that the deep middle is absent. It's that there is a step. And people don't know what you're talking about because you just leapt in there.
I did. Good.
Why
Explain.
don't you convince? Right. So there was a picture tweeted out by Next Gen Stats, which I think it may be the finest use of Next Gen Stats I've found so far. Mm-hmm. It's on my Twitter if you dig back into the timeline, PFF_Sam. Basically, it was a picture of the heat map that the Seahawks defense faces in terms of targets when Earl Thomas is on the field and when he's not on the field. And it's a completely different looking heat map. When Earl Thomas is on the field, there's basically a hole in the middle that isn't there on the other heat map, right? And they're playing the same defense in both scenarios. In either case, there's a single high free safety almost all the time. It's just in one case, that guy is stopping all of the passes coming into the deep middle, and in the other case, he isn't. But where I think it's really interesting is it quantifies what I've said before, which is it's not just his range sideline to sideline that's important. It's the fact that he can do it closer to the line of scrimmage than any other free safety, which means he impacts plays in front of him in a way other single high free safeties can't do. So when you look at that heat map, the really important thing is not that there's a square missing from the deep middle. It's that there's then a step that comes into the underneath zone that doesn't exist in the other one.
So they're not even targeting anywhere, like intermediate and deep middle.
Right. So Earl Thomas isn't just taking away the deep middle, but he's actively making an impact on the intermediate middle as well because he can get to those plays in a way other safeties can't.
And he has that seam-to-seam range where they do lean him one way and he can get to the opposite seam. Right. We've seen him with Cam Newton break up passes, Deshaun Watson pick off passes, and have that range.
So the reason he was our number one rated free agent hitting free agency the entire time is because there's no other safety in the game that can do that. There are safeties with great range out there. There's no safety that plays the game the way he can. So he isn't just the perfect fit for these defenses. He's a guy that literally changes what you can do in coverage and changes the way teams attack you because of what he can do.
And I think all of our good free agents, a lot of them have some injury risk. He's in there as well.
That was a broken leg, though.
He's 30, but he's 30. He's been banged up a lot, but I still like it. I still think he has plenty of good football left. But, yeah. I mean, if you go through Jordan Hicks and him, who else did we mention that had some injury risk? I mean, there's a few guys.
Right.
Darryl Williams, one that we're going to mention in a minute here. Overall, though, let's look at the Ravens secondary. They replaced Eric Weddle with Earl Thomas. You have Jimmy Smith and Marlon Humphrey on the outside. Tavon Young's back.
Tony
Jefferson, a true strong safety. The Ravens may have lost a little bit from their front seven.
Tony's going to be mad at you saying that.
What?
Tony doesn't like to be described as a true strong safety. He lined up way more deep this year. He told people on Twitter, don't get him mad.
Oh, yeah, Tony. Yeah, he was in my mentions this week, too.
He's a versatile guy, Steve.
Tony's
strong,
versatile.
He can play free.
He's very versatile. I love the way he plays when he's close to the line of scrimmage. And if they decide to use him in that role, with Earl playing a little bit deeper, he will excel there. Not that he's limited there, but he'll excel. Love the Ravens secondary, and love you too, Tony Jefferson. I mentioned Darryl Williams, 1 year, $6 million. We had him as a top 15 free agent, I believe, coming in. He was 2 years removed from one of the best right tackle seasons in the NFL. I believe he was our first team All-Pro. The injury risk again for Darryl Williams, but I'm just going to say it again, Sam. When you're trying to find offensive linemen, and guys like, I have to scroll down to our bad ones real quick. When guys like Bobby Hart are getting 3 years, $21 million, even if it's only $5.5 million guaranteed.
You're paying Darryl Williams less than Bobby Hart, and you're only doing it for 1 year as opposed to 3.
Yeah, I mean, when that stuff's happening, I will take all of your injured offensive linemen who have done it before and just hope for the best. That's how I'm building my offensive line. So I like this move for the Panthers. 1 year, $6 million to see what Darryl Williams has.
Yeah, same. You skated over maybe my favorite move of free agency, though.
I skated purposely because it was called a segue, Sam. What happened was we were talking about injury risk with Earl Thomas. So I skipped to Darryl Williams with the injury risk. Now we're going to flip back to your favorite one. Which one was it?
That's a segue as much as just, ad-libbing on the fly.
It wasn't an oversight, though. I fully aware of where we are.
It's a questionable decision. So Eagles sign Malik Jackson to a 3-year, $30 million deal. Malik Jackson is another one of those players that was judged against a monster contract that he signed previously in free agency and thus was always on the chopping block because he never quite lived up to it. But he's still a really productive interior pass rusher and represents, I think, a pretty significant upgrade over Timmy Jernigan, who was, their other interior player next to Fletcher Cox, who obviously is a dominant force. But the Eagles continue to, they understand clearly that it's not about your front four. It's about the 7 guys that will make up your front four at any given time.
Right.
So they want to keep reloading and making sure that they have as many pass rushers as humanly possible, not just 4 guys to rush the passer.
Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, now Malik Jackson, Derek Barnett. Who else we have?
Josh Sweat.
Josh Sweat, baby. Trying to develop him. I mean, at their best, they've been the best defensive line in 3 straight years now.
Right.
Just trying to keep the depth there, rolling 7 or 8 deep.
Yeah.
2 more to get through.
I think Jackson's a really good guy to help them continue that.
Maybe part of the reason why people think we don't like each other is because, again, I've heard your takes.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes I can anticipate them. So I'm anticipating your take on the Bears signing here, Cordarrelle Patterson. I'm anticipating it. Give it to him. Give it to the Bears fans. They love you.
I just think it's funny that the Chicago Bears have just signed the best kick returner in their franchise history. And this is a franchise that dates back to, the 1920s?
And they just found the best kick returner in
the
their
1920s,
history.
And they have 2 return men who are going to wind up in the Hall of Fame. We've got Gale Sayers. We've got Devin Hester, who is going to be in the Hall of Fame. He's not yet, right?
I don't know. He should be.
He isn't at the moment, right? I'm not just making
I don't
that
think
up.
he is.
Right.
No.
So we've got Hester. We've got Gale Sayers. Cordarrelle Patterson is the best kick returner that franchise has ever had. Now, before Bears fans lose their collective minds at the idea that Devin Hester, Devin Hester is not. Devin Hester was a better punt returner than he was a kick returner.
You're so good at that.
Dramatically better. His
good.
kick returning was not that great. Patterson is probably going to break the all-time kick return touchdown record in a time where the league is trying to eliminate kickoffs.
I think he's got 1 more year to do it.
Right.
Though,
like
if the kickoffs are gone soon.
If he doesn't break it, it's going to be because they eliminated the kickoff as a play, not because he couldn't get there.
More importantly, I like the fact that he's going to the Bears. What the Patriots did last year, it's not like they won the Super Bowl because of Patterson, but the fact that he just stepped in and played running back for a couple games, played receiver for a couple games, was their jet sweep guy down the stretch when they were really trying to mix things up with the running game. They tapped into his versatility in a good way because he wasn't the focal point, but he was the extra point and the extra guy. And the Bears and Matt Nagy, they do a great job of using Tariq Cohen and all these different versatile weapons.
He's a perfect example of how NFL teams sometimes just need to change the dynamic of how they think about a player in order to maximize their value. So you look at Cordell Patterson. If you drafted him, you're thinking, damn it, we thought he could be this #1 receiver, and it's just not him. Now we're stuck with a disappointment, right?
Well, think about what you needed to happen, because some of the plays he had his last year at Tennessee were just spectacular.
Right.
Crazy athleticism, speed. He'd make a spectacular catch here and there. But you did draft him saying size, speed, just have to teach him how to run routes and catch the ball consistently.
Right.
That's it. That's all you had to do.
And that's fine. Whatever.
But that's a massive risk.
Right. But whatever about the reason it failed, right? From that point on, with that team, you're always going to be looking at this guy as the thing that he isn't.
Right.
You're going to be looking at what he doesn't do for you and what you thought he could do coming out, and it's never going to work because of that. When he goes somewhere else and a different team is looking at him and saying, this is someone that has incredible ball carrying skills, that can be a devastating weapon as soon as we get the ball in his hands, has the size and bulk to be able to put in the backfield, we can turn him into a completely different player, focus on what he does well, not what he can't do well, and now we have like an X factor that we didn't have before.
You just don't want to draft that in the first round.
Or even if you draft it in the first round, it's very difficult for teams to completely shift the way they're thinking about a player.
Right, I agree.
To maximize the use of them. So Cordell Patterson was never going to work out for the Vikings because they were stuck with the image of the player he isn't. Whereas everybody else, the Bears, the Patriots, can focus on the guy he can be and really maximize the impact he can have.
Yeah, agreed. The Patriots used him pretty well, and the Bears, we assume, will use him well as well. The last guy that we're giving the very good grade.
Yep.
This is your guy. Chargers signed Tyrod Taylor. As we mentioned on the website, the deal is friendly to the Chargers because they get starting caliber quarterback at backup money. I do believe that is the key here for the Tyrod deal to the Chargers.
Yeah, and for, the Phillip Rivers is getting on in years. The Chargers' offensive line rarely seems to get any better.
You're not suggesting he's the future?
No. But what I'm saying is,
okay,
like at some point, Phillip Rivers is going to hit that old man wall.
Oh, he might get
where you
hurt
start to
or
get
something.
Broken.
Gotcha.
And if you have a quarterback that you need to come in for a couple of games, steer the ship, Tyrod's a pretty good option there.